Driving the M3 on great, twisty, traffic-free roads with high speed limits on the way to the track for an all-day lapping session, that the above scenario never, ever happens, at least not for us. Instead, living with the M3 means enduring the drama of its carbon ceramic brakes, which repeatedly frighten us when they get wet and pedal feel vanishes, even as BMW is adamant that they are working properly. It also means suffering a loud, bone-jarring ride that cannot be ameliorated, even by switching the adjustable suspension into comfort mode. It means listening to the muffler do its best impersonation of a garbage disposal filled with rocks when we start the car in the morning, even after multiple visits to service. It means that by this time in our test, some editors are as tired of the car as the car is tired, even if we all still love the way it looks and performs. Much creaking and groaning and other perplexing noises have yielded few solutions. We've had the muffler worked on 3 times now, trying to get the exhaust flaps and actuators to function properly. It may be fixed or it may not. We're not really sure what an M3 should sound like on cold startup, but if this is it, it's too loud and unpleasant. The service department hasn't been able to troubleshoot a howling noise we've been hearing intermittently when turning to the left at lower speeds. It sounds like Chewbacca is trapped under the hood, and different staffers have ascribed it to the steering rack, the brakes, or the suspension. The dealer did successfully cure a ticking noise we experienced under hard cornering by replacing both front wheel bearings. The M3 ferried some staffers to Joliet, Illinois, one weekend to drive in a Le Mans race, but otherwise it's been relegated to commuter duty. Note that we have not exactly been passing over the M3 in favor of even more exciting long-term vehicles for traveling. Other smaller, less studly cars in the fleet, our Volkswagen Golf and GTI and our Mazda 3 come to mind, have been regularly signed out for road trips ahead of the M3. See comments above about the flinty ride. With radar detectors sectioned to its windshield, and/or was running on our phones, the M3 continues to impress as a comfortable high-speed highway cruiser. Yes, the ride is a bit stiff, even with the suspension in comfort mode, but we imagine this would be less of an issue if Michigan's worthless state legislature would come up with a plan to fix our terrible roads. The M3's passing power, particularly in 6th gear, is surprising. Not needing to downshift to overtake lethargic left-lane squatters doesn't mean we don't do it anyway, as working the shift lever is one of the great joys of driving this car. The rev-matching feature of the transmission has our staff divided, but we're in agreement that there should be a better way to turn it on and off than selecting the Sport Plus mode that causes hair-trigger throttle response and unpleasant driveline lash while puttering around town. Also, that amazing passing power in 6th gear comes at the expense of fuel economy, thanks to gearing that's unnecessarily short. Considering we routinely see more than 30 miles per gallon on the highway in our long-term Corvette, there's no good reason the M3 couldn't perform similarly. We made our first visit to the dealer after we started feeling a vibration through the steering wheel and the pulling to the right. Rebalancing all 4 tires cured the problem and lightened our wallets by $127.06. While we had the car in the service department, we mentioned the loud exhaust on cold startup. The techs discovered excessive play in one of the exhaust actuators and replaced it under warranty. Shortly thereafter, we had a tire go mysteriously flat overnight, but finding nothing wrong with neither wheel nor tire, we're going to blame Minions. You annoying little creatures owe $17 for a new tire inflator kit. On a positive note, our issues with the carbon ceramic brakes have disappeared now that the weather is nice again. Many of us are still getting over both the direction the M3 has taken and the price. One editor, who has proclaimed himself the M3's biggest fan, has accused the rest of us of being so focused on what the car isn't that we are failing to recognize the good things it offers. Like stinking fast speed, bestowed by a turbo engine that pulls all the way to redline. And the other day a bystander shouted, "What a crazy blue for that BMW." That's crispy, man. Always on the lookout for new and interesting ways to describe cars, we are pleased to add this adjective to our lexicon. There is a freight rail line that runs just behind our office, about 20 yards from our parking lot. We mention this because on cold startup, the M3's inline 6 not only sounds like a ragged inline 3 but it also will drown out the trains as they rumble by. Then there is the issue of the exhaust sound inside the car, where BMW's active sound technology causes it to emanate from the speakers. This bothers us to the point that we have, on occasion, pulled the fuse for the entire audio system, thus banishing from the cockpit not only the artificial exhaust sound but also Howard Stern. We are planning on seeing what we can do to kill the engine sound enhancement without giving up the entertainment functions to which an audio system ought to be limited. On initial application the pedal goes hard, dramatically increasing the perceived effort required to slow the car. The M3 owner's manual describes something similar but suggests that the reduced braking effect can be compensated for if necessary by pressing the brake pedal harder. Excellent advice. In our experience, reapplying brake pressure causes the pedal to behave normally. Wired relaxes like stress test. We had concerns about what might happen when we drop the BMW 3 Series from our roster. Thankfully, it appears that the internet cannot be broken so easily as our hearts. While we are collectively saddened that BMW no longer builds the car so many of us believe to be nearly perfect, we've written that story already, once or twice. We're over it now. BMW, on the other hand, still has romantic aspirations. Not to mention cars to sell and an enthusiast reputation to maintain, so the newest addition to our long-term fleet is an M3 in yes Marina Blue, $550, over Silverstone leather, no cost. It is a gorgeous color combination, one familiar to our editorial staff because an identical car showed up at 10 Best this year, where it did garner many admirers. Just not enough of them.